Let's go. Yellow lamp passing through the block, nigga, call it macaroni. Secret stash in the dash, you don't see the homie pass the 40. White spurs swerving through the left, nigga, call it shit you know. Still on me how I'm running with a nigga looking like Shinobi. We started from the bottom, from the block to the concrete. Party in the condo with a new bitch up in Palm Beach. We started from the bottom, from the block to the concrete. Green leaf for the Gandhi, white girl for the blondie. Moving forward, let's get back to it. All my niggas on the grind. Hustle season, we react to it. Ghostbusters with the slime. Other planets, we be on it. Flying high, we be on it. Taking trips to the tropics. 5 a.m., we be on it. Tell your bougie come kick it. Call her Shawn Michaels, I should get a sweet chin. Michael Corleone, mom style, run up on a nigga, kick his teeth in. Spins broke a brick of green down like a head of lettuce. Woo! Straight cash when the work come in, I ain't giving credit. Nigga said he got the new J's. I don't give a fuck. And she tryna say she changed. I don't give a fuck. Told me that he copped 2 chains. I don't give a fuck. Tryna tell me that she into new things. I don't give a fuck. 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 He say he tryna get money now, but I don't give a fuck. I vision for the hustle game, how I saw cash. Showers in the club, make it rain, that's the forecast. Red lightning like you saw a flash when a Porsche passed. A red lightning when a Porsche passed like you saw a flash. Tornado is brick, how we whipping it. The flip on that triple is infinite. Like 200K when I'm sitting in. They hugging that neck like we intimate. No dojo, but this fifth kicking like a sensei. Got a couple shooters that'll bring the touch like I said Clay. With these nuggets on me, gotta keep the hog like the Kembe. Or that fit that's kicking that'll hit your chest like it's MJ. Got the work, nigga, flipping, stretching like Pilates class. Then we meditate and keep the bricks chopping like karate class. So much work that we counting, nigga need a body bag. So we got a stash, keep the whole shit wrapped from head to toe just like a body cast. You sideline with that rock, nigga, you ain't ballin' out. How the fuck you expect to get work, nigga, you keep calling out? What's it all about? Nigga said he got the new J's. I don't give a fuck. And she tryna say she changed. I don't give a fuck. Told me that he copped 2 chains. I don't give a fuck. Tryna tell me that she into new things. I don't give a fuck. 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 He say he tryna get money now, but I don't give a fuck.
What's the word? What's the word? What's the word? We back another week. My So Crooked Opinion. Thank you for everybody that's tuning in. But before we get started, as usual, if you want to get some So Crooked merch, you can hit us up at So Crooked NYC on Instagram, So Crooked NYC on Facebook, So Crooked NYC on Twitter. Pretty much So Crooked NYC on everything. So if you see something that you like and you want to pick something up, just hit us up. You know what I'm saying? We'll make sure that we get you your merchandise as soon as possible. We got a great turnaround and, you know, support. So again, we got my sister, Stiletto Diva. How you doing this morning, sis?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. We made it another week. God is good.
That's a fact. Made another week. I'm your man Bundles. As you already know, this is my So Crooked Opinion podcast. And today's episode is going to be based on love versus survival. Love versus survival. People being raised with love versus people being raised with survival tactics. And, you know, we just going to touch on it, man. Sis, that's a very delicate concept. Love versus survival.
Right.
Because, you know, certain people got different perspectives on what love is. So we can tap into pretty much everything, man. But
yeah, we could touch on a little bit of everything, as we normally do, you know.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
But I saw the reason why I brought this topic to you was because I had saw a meme on social media. says people raised on love see things differently than those that are raised on survival. Like I sat there and I looked at that shit like, whoa, that's a whole fact. You can tell um in people's actions, you can tell how they handle things emotionally, how you converse where they're at mentally on
Right.
how they were raised. Morning.
Right.
So um it's a vast difference. You see, once you get to get to know the people around you and you get to know who people are, and it helps. Like the older you get, the more you grow mentally, the more compassionate and understanding you can be towards those who were raised on survival. Because I
Okay.
don't think no one is intentionally raised on survival. I want to say that we all had parents, moms, dads, grandfathers, aunties, and uncles, who are sometimes our parents who did the best they could with us and raised us with the love or what they felt love was or with the love that they learned from, their from coming up. So I think survival is something that happens along the way
I think it's under the
and it shapes
circumstances.
them.
It's under the circumstances for certain people where, at least for me, it's love into the survival and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But sometimes people put more emphasis on the survival part than the love part because, coming up in the streets, coming up in the hood, when love is considered weak in a way, especially from
Right.
being outside, dealing with certain aspects of the world. So I feel like as far as parents automatically know before you know what your environment is and what it takes to survive in it.
Right.
Before you even know what to do, your parents 9 times out of 10 know what to do because we say it all the time. Like, yo, if I would have listened to my parents back then, I probably would have been in a different situation here. You know what I'm saying?
I
So
hate to admit that now, but
it's real. It's real
it's
because we
real,
thinking
yo.
sometimes growing up in the hood or growing up in certain situations, when parents is telling us stuff like, yo, don't go over there, you can only go here, make sure you in the house before the street light, things like that, we thinking our parents is holding us back from doing what we want to do and have fun, but in all aspects they're actually protecting us.
Because coming out, like my mom's to me was my biggest hater. Sis just would not let me be great.
Right.
But I appreciate it. Like I don't want to say she wouldn't let me be great. She gave me controlled greatness. She put me in different environments because of shit where we both grew up at. She grew up in one of the toughest neighborhoods in the South Bronx. I was raised there as well. We moved to another neighborhood that, wasn't all that great, but it was what we knew.
Right.
And she maneuvered in it, and she made sure that she gave me the tools to maneuver in it, but showing me there is not only
C-Dub
survival
was
in your
good.
environment. It's
That's
not only, she made sure she instilled in me, like your environment does not translate over to who you're going to become as a person. Like where you were raised at is going to have nothing to do with who you become as a person. So she made sure, like she instilled like a little, that street shit. She instilled, that home, that loving, that other side of the game to me as well. I'm appreciative of that. Like my mom is my top homie. Like that's my best friend. Like in my older age, I can realize she moves to the best of her ability. And only when I became a parent, I understood that, as a parent, we be freestyling. There's no book to tell you how to
how to
raise your
be a
child.
parent. Right.
It's
Right.
no book. So we know the base is love, but it's the other things that come with that because love don't feed our kids.
It's a
Love
fact.
don't put clothes on our back. You know what I mean? Love
It's a
can't,
fact.
especially if you got multiple kids. It's rough. It's
It's a
rough.
fact.
So that's why I was saying, like, somewhere along the line that survival kicks in. So I don't think it's sometimes intentionally pushed on them, but the love is shown not outwardly. It's not like a wake up in the morning with a kiss on the forehead. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you.
Okay.
It's the things that sometimes that your parents do for you.
Yo, salute to everybody on the check-in. C-Dub, excuse me, C-Double. My man Chris
Hey,
Lee.
see, I see Pinky.
You know what I'm saying? Salute to
Tell them up
everybody
in
on the
here.
check-in, man. Yeah, as far as like, being raised, I feel like tough love is a thing, and sometimes tough love can be confused with, like you said, a parent not really giving the child certain elements, probably because they feel like they don't want to soften the kid up too much. I'm using myself as an example.
Mhm.
My father and my godfather, they raised me based on survival tactics. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I knew they loved me, but they gave me certain elements where you would consider it to be harsh for a child, maybe. Like I
Mhm.
never, I've never gave my father a kiss ever in life. Never.
Guys have it rough. Men have it rough. Boys
No,
have
I'm
it
just
rough.
never gave my father a kiss ever in life. My father always gave me a pound. He'll give me a
A
hug every
hug
now and then.
even? Oh, okay, okay,
Not,
okay.
but it's very far and in between. Like it had to take something drastic or like a holiday or something like that for me and my father to really hug. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I knew he loved me. And
Right.
let's be clear, like the first couple of years of my life, my father was incarcerated. He was in prison.
Mhm.
I was raised by my grandmother. My mom's was out in the world. She was on drugs and everything. So even with my grandmother, she raised me with love, but she did her best to try to give me some type of like sternness. And
Mhm.
I think for me, her her showing me love was more in my early years, meaning like when my father wasn't around. I think that she took it upon herself to say, you know what, his father's not around, his mom's is outside. I gotta shower him with love. But
Right.
in the midst of showering me with love, I can sit here and honestly say that it made me. I'm not gonna say it made me weak, but it didn't make me as
No. It made
set
you a brat. I
set in
think
my
you a brat.
environment. No, what I mean, it didn't make me set in my environment because like my younger years, I'm gonna keep it 100. I was a little timid my younger years
Really?
because
I cannot imagine.
yeah, I was a little timid my younger years because at the end of the day, my grandmother loved me. She gave me what she could. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Things like that. I was always up under her. Just I just embraced my grandmother because she was showing me so much love. Now
Mhm.
started getting up in age and things like that, dealing with school, dealing with other kids that may not have the same amount of love that you get at home. They super
Right.
aggressive, you know what I'm saying? Things like that, you have to adjust. Now, that was a time in my life, at least for me, that was kind of difficult until my father came home. When my father
Mm.
came home and my godfather was coming around, they was doing what you call tough love. If you want to name it survival tactics, you could do that, but it was more so tough love. Pushing you around, wrestling with you. Like,
Why do men do
yo,
that though?
listen, it
I
was
got
so
a legit
real.
question too.
I got you. It was so real that my godfather, he gonna watch this later. Salute to my godfather, love him to death. I'll be walking down the hallway in the crib, and out of nowhere, he just bumped me. Boom. Now, when I was younger, usually if I'll be like, Grandma, he'd be like, Yo, man, what you doing? You telling? Telling my nigga? Like, you word? Like they was big on that. You telling? You better
Mhm.
take that bump or bump me back. And then it got to the point where he would bump me, I would get upset, go in my room, cry a little bit, bump me, bump me. Then after a while, it's like, all right, you want bump you back, nigga? Like, and me doing that got me more embrace from them, meaning my pops and my godfather. I was like, oh, all right,
Showing aggression.
this is who I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be like on my shit, poke your chest out, walk with a certain level of sternness and things like that. And for me, I knew that I'm not going to say that they love me more for that, but I would get a different reaction out of them, the two men that I look up
Okay.
to versus how my earlier years was being raised by my grandmother.
By your grandmother. Now, my question is that your dad and your godfather, were they raised like that? Like, because I never understood why. I can understand you wanting your male child to be masculine and all these great things that men are supposed to be, whatever. But where does beating them up and roughing them up help them at? Like,
Cause like I just
and telling
said,
them that they can't show emotion and
Cause like I said, it's
It's
a
odd to me, like how men do other children, and I don't
unfortunately,
know.
unfortunately, growing up where we grow up in the inner city, in the hood, or whatever may have you, they was training you for being outside.
That's true.
They was
That's
trained.
true.
They
That
was,
was kind of
you know what I'm saying?
rough
Like
coming
I,
up.
I just explained it. Like my earlier years with my grandmother, being showered with love, being embraced with so much love and affection. When it translated to me going outside, I wasn't as aggressive or as what like I said, I was timid my earlier years. I know you can't see it, sis. But
But
this
no,
is
because seriously, like I get, I can understand it because I'm a mom. As a woman, like we shower, especially my son is my world. Like, but I get it because I was raised in a household all boys. Like I was the only girl, so I've seen it with my own eyes. I've seen my uncles, and my grandmother had a lot of children, and she raised all of us. We were all in that one house, and I've seen it with my own eyes. Like I would get treated differently. I had gender roles assigned to me as the only female coming up in a house. I had I was hugged and I was kissed on.
right.
I was shown affection. But like my cousins, they got popped upside their head. Like, what you doing? Don't let them get caught trying to play with me because I'm the girl and I got girl toys trying to play, with my toys with me. Pop
Right.
them beside the head. What you doing? That's for girls. What are you doing? I know you're not about to cry, but they weren't even allowed to like be emotional and shit like that. And I'm just like, and I got one of my cousins is like literally we're the same age for a couple of months, and then he goes to a year older than me. Like they weren't allowed to be soft, so in turn they pushed it onto me. Like no, because when you go outside, when you go to school, you're not gonna be soft. So if you knock me down, I can't cry, or it's gonna get worse, or they gonna beat my ass. Like so,
Absolutely.
Tiff, get up. They like yo, Tiff, get up and fight back.
Absolutely.
So I get it, but I don't know. I think it should have been some explanations along with you knocking my ass on the floor and telling me to get up and fight back. Like, first of all, I'm a girl.
It was a
I'm a
level
girl.
it was a level of training. Cause you think about it like
Why?
this.
But why does it have to be gladiator camp in order to show love and affection, in order to show your loved ones that you want them to be good in life?
What you just said at the beginning of the show, you grew up in a rough neighborhood. Your parents know that you grew up in a rough neighborhood. They're not going to be around all the time, so they got to
Right.
instill certain shit with you. That's just like if you're on a basketball team, yeah, the coach can train you all day, but you got to play the game. You the one on the court. I
That's
can
a
I
good
can I
one.
can show you how to do the spin move. I can show you how to get your form with your layup, but I can't play the game for you. You got to play the game for yourself. All I'm doing is training you. So,
All that shit did was turn me into a bully. I
see,
was horrible.
unfortunately, you used it the
I used to
wrong
be
way.
scared to fight. I used to be scared to fight, but once I realized that I could fight and I could take a hit because they beat me up, and until I started fighting back, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. It
I
was a
never
wrap.
I never was scared to fight even in my younger years, but my situation was is that I was always a big nigga. You know what I'm saying?
I
No
ain't
matter
like to
what
fight.
no matter
I
what
still
element I
don't.
was in.
I defend myself. I don't.
Now but check it.
I'll defend myself. I'll defend the fuck out of myself.
I was always a big dude, right?
Hmm.
So me being a big dude, I was always not really you want to mess with bundles type situation or Anthony at the time. I know I was even bundles then. So when my father came home from jail, he saw how I was living. And for him being in jail, him being outside, him being in the streets, he know what's waiting outside from when I get up underneath grandma armpit. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So he had a conversation, and this is what's so real about it. He had a conversation with my grandmother. He was like, "Listen, yo, let me really get to know my son. Let me.
Hmm.
When you see certain things happening, just let it be. Basically,
Did they feel that your grandmother made you like soft, just for lack of a better word?
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
And that's
Did you
when
turn more towards the aggression? Did when that started happening, did you find yourself not shying away from your grandmother's love, but did you find yourself like avoiding it or going more towards, the men? Because of course that's who you are. Like that's who you see when you look in the mirror. You're gonna see a man, so you're
that's
gonna
who I
want to pick
wanted.
up that
That's who I
energy.
wanted acceptance from. I wanted. I put it like
Okay.
this. I wanted acceptance more from my pops and my godfather than I knew my grandmother loved me unconditionally, so she gonna be there. If
Oh,
something
okay.
if
Yeah.
something go left, I know I could go
You
to
see how
grandma
our
and talk
boys
about
be
it.
traitors to us after we love them so much? Y'all are traitors.
But listen, so now I'm getting a little older and I'm starting to see the results of me moving a certain way. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So in the midst of that, being young, you don't really know how to control your emotions 100%. So sometimes it could be used in the
Absolutely.
wrong way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I would say fast forward to high school years, I'm walking with a little bit different demeanor. You know what I'm saying? I'm carrying myself a different way. You know what I mean? And things like
Got some
that.
slang.
Ba- basically, listen, listen. My pops taught me a little too well. Reason being, there was a situation where me and him was having an argument about something. And now that I look back on it, even before he passed away, I said, yo, I heard what you were saying, but it was just how you said it. And
Mm.
based off of how he raised me, a man is supposed to talk to you a certain way. If his demeanor changes or his
Oh, so
tone
you thought you
changes,
was a
you
man.
exactly. So
Oh,
now,
I think that's a rite of passage for all young men growing up. They gonna buck at the authority, even the ones who raised them. I
yeah,
think like
listen.
that really is a thing. Like,
But here's the funny thing. You want to hear something so crazy? It brung us closer together. I'm
no.
yo. I'm being so serious with
Okay.
you. I'm being so serious with you.
So you felt you got his respect.
It, I'm not gonna say I got his respect. I think I always had his respect. Let's be clear.
Hmm.
My pops put me on my ass when that situation
Oh,
happened.
okay.
He
Yeah,
put
finish
me
the
on my. You
story.
know what I'm saying?
Finish the
Yeah.
story.
But I think that he looked at me like, yeah, that's my son, but that's not my baby boy no more. He
Okay.
he getting up there.
Okay. All right. We got an interesting question though in the comments though. So
Okay.
Jay says, so when does all that stop? When you have your own children, you know what was done to you as a child and didn't like it, do and you didn't like it by doing the same to your children. How are you raising your son?
I'm I'm gonna be honest. I'm raising my son with a little bit of both. For instance, is that
Okay. Do you hug him?
yes, I hug my son.
Do you tell him you love him?
Yes, I do all the time.
Do you kiss him?
Yeah, but
I
again,
think that's very
far in
important. Like
between.
a forehead kiss, a hug. I love you, son. I think that that's so important for men to do to their men child. You don't want them to be all rough in the round parts, like in those smooth parts. It
Right.
it 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 just messes. I think my son personally, he has a little bit of both. Like, although I'll tell him like, yo, you ain't even never really been in a fight in your whole life. He insists that he had about 2, 3 fights in school that he came out on top, like, and he can tell you the name of. I'm like, those don't count, like, because I didn't shelter him. I probably sheltered him. Let me even stop lying.
I'm
I
gonna tell
did
you. I'm gonna
because
tell you right now why you did, because you even say it yourself all the time. Like, think about it. Like, when there's a male figure around, especially somebody that Jeremiah cares about. Like, even when I
mhm,
come around, you could tell that his demeanor changes.
yeah, yeah, he get extra tough around the guys, like. But I think that's because I knew that as a woman, I can teach him to be compassionate. I can teach him about loving someone. I can teach him to love himself. I can teach him and show him affection. And he's very affectionate to be a guy. I think I did a really good job. He's such a gentleman. But I also made sure I kept him around men who were scholars, men who were sometimes shooters, men who worked and men who got it by other means. Like I wanted to see, like, it ain't all good. It ain't all sunshine out here. And even with mommy, it ain't all good and sunshine. So I wanted to. I purposely had that around him, so he's aware of certain things and what goes on around. And like, and if something went down, I always told him like, this, look, this is X, Y, and Z. This is what happened. This is why it happened. This is how you move now.
Right.
You know what I mean? I still to this day get on him about his being aware of his surroundings. But I know that as a mom and as a woman, there was a cap with my son to where I had to, like, all right, I can't show you nothing else. I can't tell you nothing else. Call uncle, call cousin, you know, call dad, like call
But see,
these.
that's where the balance is. It's like he know same way how like I know. We know that the women in our life could take us but so far as men.
Right.
At a certain age, you get to the point where you like, I know mommy, grandma, whoever raised you taught me all that they could teach me. Now I need to know from a male perspective how to move around in this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to look for that, and once you get it, and especially the acceptance part, there's a lot of cats out here that don't got fathers. That's why they turn to the streets.
Right.
But then you got guys that...
He didn't have a biological father. My son's biological father wasn't around, but he was raised by a man who came into the picture when he was 5. He's still in the picture. Like, that's his dad. If you ask Jay who his dad is, he's going to tell you, like, you know, that's my dad. His uncles was always in the picture. You know what I mean? Like, his uncles were always in the picture. But that just leads me to my question while we're talking about that. Does being raised on survival mean that you can't be emotionally connected to anything? Like, do you? Because I see like a lot of these people that are raised like that, it's wicked out here. It's some wicked ways. It's some.
It take another strong person to deal with somebody like that, because you got guys out here that are like that, but if your partner doesn't bring out that other side of you, then you're just going to get that one dimension, and you're going to either be comfortable with it, or you can leave, or you could be that special person that individual needs. Because you got to remember, there's a lot of trauma in that too, because if you constantly train to be hard and constantly being trained to be just heartless, that carries with you when you get when you get older. You still moving that way, especially if you still live in that environment. That's just how it goes.
Do you believe a person who's a person raised on love can be in a functioning relationship with someone who was raised on survival? Who you think benefits from that? Or do you think it's going to be a constant, like, drawing of patience on the person who loves? Because even in those kind of situations, you know, it's just like the loving person is the giver and the survivalist is the taker. You know what I mean? So where's the balance? Is it going to always be a constant relationship of me being compassionate and trying to love you through your survival shit because I understand how you were raised? If you even had that conversation on how a person was raised, how does that work?
Like I said, it's time, it's patience, and it's how much do y'all really care about each other?
Like, I can't do it. Like, it's just it's like, because how I was like, I'm affectionate with everyone. Like, you know, I'm a sensitive thug. I would love somebody to death. I love you. I love you. I love you. For real. You already know. I love you, fams. I love you. Like, and I'm all huggy, and because, like, I want people to know that. And I know, like, I told you, like, remember when I used to hug y'all niggas, when I first would run up on y'all and hug y'all and kiss y'all, I love you. I miss you. Y'all would look at me like, you drunk? No, that's just how I am. Like, that's just how I am. Like,
that's because most cats ain't used to hugs.
Right. Like, yo.
Like, how many times have you walked down? All right, for instance, we gonna use different sections. We both from New York. We gonna use different sections in New York. You could go downtown Manhattan, see somebody, give them a hug. You ain't running into that too much where we from.
Mm-hmm.
You ain't running into nobody that's running up on somebody, giving, and especially not no two men. That's far in between.
Not? Like, right, but this is what I'm saying. Like, it's okay to hug as a man. Do you allow your son to cry when he displays emotions? Do you tell him toughen up, or you allow him to feel how he feels? Like Jay, I used to tell him don't cry, stop that shit. Like boys don't do that. I stopped myself because listen, he has every right to feel his emotions the way that I have every right to feel my emotions, and I do. And I'll cry at the drop of a dime. I stop myself, like, so now he's comfortable displaying those kind of emotions around me because men have feelings too. So do you allow him? But what I don't do is I do not allow him to continuously cry about something. No. Get it out your system and get it going. You allow your son time to be.
It depends on the situation. If it's some, like for instance, if he cries over a toy, I'm telling him to buck up. Like, my son is 7 years old. Yo, my man, you crying over it. If you crying over something that hurts you, and I'm talking about like emotionally or even somewhat physically, depending on the situation, all right, fine. I get it. You still a child at the end of the day. But this is some stuff I'm not tolerating. You're not crying because I took your tablet and you got to go to bed. Yo, my man, word? That's what you doing? Like, that's...
Maybe you hurt his feelings by doing that.
Nah, we ain't trying to hear that.
I'm talking about real crying, not whining. Whining. I mean actual hurt feelings.
You try to take a tablet away from Dylan and see how he react. But anyway...
But do you allow him time to process his feelings and his emotions? Do you do that?
I'm learning.
Or is it? Do you still see it? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Like, do you see it? Because like we want to break these are like generational curses. Like we want to break these with our children.
But do you really want to break? You got to look at it like this. Right now in the world, let's we touching on the guys, but let's touch on the women for a second. You know how some women, how they raise their women, their daughters, is a little stern as well. But there's a reason for that. You know, kidnapping little girls is at an all-time high right now in the country. Yeah. So you're gonna teach your daughter not to move a certain way when a stranger talks to you, how to react to it, especially if you're from the hood. Not saying that you're supposed to be super over aggressive, but let it be known like you ain't the one to play with.
You ain't the one. Don't do it over here, fam.
Right. Exactly. So some parents will be like, that's all they teaching you right now. They feel like, I'm raising you, so you should know I love you. I ain't throw you away. I ain't give you to the wolves. I ain't take you.
Right. That's how they used to have it. Like, I love you. Who take care of your black ass? That's the response in the households that we grew up with. Do you now, emotionally, Mr. Survivor, emotionally, do you allow your daughter to behave a certain way as opposed to your son? Like if they were emotional over the same thing, would you view it differently? Would you comfort her differently than how you comfort your son?
In certain of every father does. In certain aspects, yes. In certain aspects, yes. But like I said, it has to be something
over the same thing. That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I'm saying.
It has to be something that I see. Like,
how would you
for instance, if they're playing in the house, right, and my son run into the wall, boom.
As they do.
If I don't see no blood or he ain't like moving a certain type of way, I let him get a whine like, But if you dead ass is crying, you're my man. Get up, shake that off, and go play.
You ever ran into a wall?
Many a times. Playing?
That hurt.
Many a times.
That ain't no shake off. Like you gotta gather your your marbles back.
I hear you, but listen. I'll give
his Sonic coins out.
I'll give you a minute, but if it's dragging.
Look, Jay in here like, yes, you do them different. The white blowing one. She said you do them different.
Listen, sis, if it's dragging, bruh, come on, man. Little man, come on. Now with my daughter, I'm not gonna lie. She hit the wall. I feel like she just lost a life.
You gotta get her.
Gotta
Not
get her.
daddy girl. Not daddy girl. Come here.
And even with my son, if I realize like he really hurt himself, I'm talking about like he really hurt himself, I'll go get him like, yo,
but
you
that's
alright?
What you said. You have to really have hurt himself. Your daughter, she just smacked into the same wall he smacked into.
You're gonna take some bumps and bruises on the road.
You're gonna gather daddy girl, but your son, you're gonna be like, yo, all right, you all right, get up.
But listen, check this out. If you ask my son if I love him, he knows that I love him. He just knows that I require a certain demeanor from him, and that's not a bad thing, because now, like, even like when I go pick my son up from school, my son stands out when he comes out the door. Like, he's 7, but you notice him when he comes out the door, because he carries himself a certain way, and I love that about him. Like, even we'll go to the park, right? Now, he understands who I am as a person, and I understand who my son is. He'll be outside playing, and like he'll do some shit on the monkey bars, and he'll hit the floor. Boom. Now, if we was in the house, he would have let that out. Oh, mama. But outside, we in the park. Yeah, we in the park. Daddy's around. Now, I'm going to shake this off a little bit, because I know Daddy will be proud of me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's different. And to me, I feel like that's how he should be outside. Yeah, you can show emotion and show people.
But you don't want to display weakness. I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it. I get that. So I think Dylan has a great balance. I think because he, your wife, he's gonna be an amazing man, I think, because Dylan is so affectionate and he's so loving, but I also get how you want him to be like, all right, don't let the smooth taste fool you.
Exactly.
So I think he has a little balance of both. Between your tough love and your wife who loves hugs and kisses on him.
And
it does.
But see, now I'm gonna touch on the single parent situation too.
Mm-hmm.
Being a man, and I'm gonna do it for the little boys and the little girls. Being a father, maybe a distant father, somebody that's not in the household or around all the time. Now you got to figure out another balance, which is when you do get time with your kid, you can't be too stern, because then it's gonna look like you don't really love them, or you don't want to be with them right there, right then. You know how kids' emotions be. Yo, why you even here? All you do is be angry when you come over here. Why you even coming? Type situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to find some type of balance to. I want to say maybe like 60-40.
Wait, 60-40 what? What's the 60?
The 60 gotta be the tough love. It gotta be. If you're a distant parent, the 60 gotta be the tough love. And I'm gonna say that because especially if you're raising a little boy, he's being raised by his mother. You know what I'm saying?
Don't say it. Look how you just said it.
I'm just saying he was being raised by his mother. We understand women are more nurturing and more loving, and you're going to get that at home. Now, when you with daddy, it's my job to make sure that you have what it takes to be out in the world. And I got to be a little bit more aggressive about it, because your mother got a better hold on your psyche than I do. You live with her.
All right. Okay. I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
You're trying to make your impression. You got a small window to make your impression and try to teach them everything about being a man.
Exactly. So that's why. What's up?
I get it, but these are just, and again, these are all my own personal views and my own personal opinions. But I think that it should be a little more love involved versus the survival. Because, okay, of course you don't want your kid to be a sucker. Of course you don't want your kid to be a punk. But I think in loving a little bit more and creating a safe emotional environment for your kid, you raise a compassionate kid. You raise a child who knows empathy. Like, these people that are running around now ain't got an ounce of integrity or empathy. They don't feel for anyone. Where do you think
that come from?
But that's what I'm saying. So that's what I think. That was a little bit too much tough of whatever. I think it was more tough than love. These are the same ones who don't trust anyone.
It's a domino
Yeah,
effect.
these are the same ones.
You don't want your child to be the one that get picked on. You don't want your child to be the one
Yeah.
that gets taken advantage of. And not everybody in the world got it good where they can put their child in a positive situation. You know what I'm saying?
No,
There's
but
hoods
you
everywhere.
can.
There's
You
ghettos
can though.
everywhere.
Yeah, the ghetto is in the hood is outside your door.
He got to
You
live
feel
in
what
it.
I'm saying?
You can't hold
No,
your child hand and sit behind him in class every day. When he gets to a
no, but
certain age, you can't walk him home from school every day, especially if you're a working parent. Your kid
so
got to
if it's
defend
rough
himself
outside, it gotta
outside.
be rough inside. If it's rough outside, it gotta be rough inside.
No,
Where's the peace
it's
at?
gotta be a balance. It's gotta be a balance. And I'm not saying rough like it's World War III in your house. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's just like a level of training. It's just like karate. You think about it like this. Nobody points the finger at the karate instructor when you doing your practices in the corner. He come and hit you with a rib shot to make sure that you're on point.
They do that in karate.
All the time, especially when you get to a certain level. When you get to a certain level, you might be training, and out of nowhere, your sensei will come and give you a shot to the gut just to make sure you're on
I'm not
point.
doing karate. I'm
There's
not
a
doing
level,
karate no more.
but I'm saying there's a level of training. So even with being in your household, you want to train your child for certain situations. If you teaching your child like, listen, not for nothing, yo, don't never go outside, let nobody see you be weak. Yo, poke your chest out.
Yeah,
Make sure that you walk with a certain sternness. Make sure people say what you mean and mean what you say. Things like
all
that.
the
Now,
time.
you as a kid, you thinking like, damn, I gotta be like that. I just want to be happy and go. But then when you get outside and you get in certain situations and you remember what was instilled in you in the household, like, yo, move like this, that, and you see the outcome of it is positive, where you was able to either get home or just be safe in general. You're going to respect that training. You're going to respect that thought process because that's what's getting you through the world. But you got to have a level of love too, because in life, when you want to progress, you can't just be out here just moving just super aggressive because you're going to close a lot of doors for you. But
Okay,
there's a thin line between
okay,
there's a thin line
okay.
between being aggressive and being caring and loving. It's a very thin
Right.
line. Very thin line, and people got to know when they crossing that line.
Okay, but okay. So now most of the articles that I was, peeking at throughout this week when I was just trying to get a better understanding of it, because again, I have my opinion on how the love versus survival thing goes. It says that if we raise our kids on love, most probably they'll be full of empathy. They're kind, loving, supportive, and their leaders. They don't ever feel empty. They look forward to meeting people, like they're outgoing. And the flip side of that is that if it's too much of it, when things do happen, they don't know how to handle it. They'll
I
fall apart.
I agree with that.
Ill treatment, raised voices. It's just not going to be a good thing.
I agree with that
Um,
highly.
Survival, raising your kids on survival, they'll grow up to be tough, wiser, and they can easily face challenging circumstances. They'll probably be the last man standing and they'll win most challenges. Kids raised on survival learn to fight. They fight every day to give their love and support to others. But why should you raise your child to have that mentality that they have to fight for love?
It's a cold world. It's a
And
cold
it's
world.
also said that they're very insensitive and they lack a general empathy and care for others. And they may even think that people experience unpleasant things because they're too soft. That's crazy. That's crazy. So,
I
like, think about the
I
people
agree with
who
50% of that. I'm not gonna lie. Even hearing it, it was like,
that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. So it's just like there are really people out here raising their kids on one or the other, and they're turning into adults that are super damaged, that wreak havoc
and completely
emotionally, mentally on
irrational.
people.
Oh man, completely irrational.
Completely,
Listen,
yes, they're irrational. Yes, they are irrational. It's like no talking, and it's just like I'd like to think that I raised a well-rounded child.
It's
That
about
he is
it's
irrational
about
sometimes.
understanding that people know. All right, listen. For instance, you gotta let it be known, and it's not just a look. It's not just a way you carry yourself. Sometimes it comes with action, but you
I
gotta let
agree,
it be
Jay.
known that if you're gonna come into my life, whether it be relationship or friendship, you got to understand that this is certain things I'm not going to tolerate. And if you are okay with that and understand and respect that, then we can move forward. But I got to let that be known from the get go. Like, yeah, we can be cool. Yeah, we could be friends. No problem, through and through. But especially in today's time with things being so rocky with people and people doing people dirty scams and things like that,
Right,
you got to let it
right.
be known that I'm not the one to do that to. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
you got to. I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Cut with I've always, even in my worst and horrible behavior, I've always been compassionate. I've always been loving at the core. I think my over aggression sometimes comes from, and I'm learning, people having me just all around effed up. And that's when I become the most irrational. That's when I become the most like ignorant. And again, it's a process. I'm working on not being that person, because when I feel like someone tried to play on my behavior and you mistake that loving nature that I do present to you and that I'll do anything for you, you along the line, because you're a survivalist, aka to me, my opinion,
Hmm.
a taker, you got me fucked up. So now let me show you, like, listen, I got a little, I didn't make it this far on love alone. I didn't
Let
make
me
it
ask
this
you a
far on love
question.
alone.
How does relationships feel? Like, now, mind you, you said it. You are a woman that comes from a household where you had to be a little tough, be based on your circumstances or how you grew up, right? Now,
Uh-huh.
if you date a man that was based off of love, like more love than survival, like he had it good. Let me not even say he had it good, but he was just basically raised off love. Versus
Mhm.
you dating a man that was raised off of survival. What do you as a female take? Well, what's the difference? What was the main differences that you saw in the men from different sides of the situation?
I've dated a survival person.
Hmm.
More than anything, more than anything, they were very charismatic and manipulative.
Okay.
Very manipulative. Someone who was raised on love was able to understand my nature of who I am more. But they also didn't play with me. So a survival, someone who's raised on survival is gonna exist in any situation you put them in.
Do you think a person raised off survival can ever put you first? Meaning, like, people that are raised off survival
No,
are constantly
no,
thinking about surviving.
no, you can't. How can they when their top and bottom line is them?
It's the survival of them.
Yeah. Above all, they got to make it. So I don't think
I
that,
think it could. I think it could translate from I gotta make it to we gotta make it. It depends. Like I said, it depends on the relationship and the individual in the
it
situation.
depends
It
on
could turn into, yeah. It's definitely a I gotta survive
people
thing, but
change.
it can
People
turn into a
change
we
though.
gotta survive thing. But even with the we gotta survive thing, it that's where it stops. So now
Right,
you are in this person's bubble where it's just like, yo, we gotta survive, so we gotta move this way. Even
right,
if you're not really accustomed to moving that way, that said person is going to make you move that way because his or hers survival tactic is going to be like, if you go against anything that's a we surviving, they automatically look at you as a traitor or look at you as somebody that they can't trust, and
because
now
they
it goes back to I gotta
now
survive.
it reverts. Yeah, now because you're not on my team, I gotta do what I gotta do for me. That's always at the back. That's always the underlying thing, because it's almost like if we don't do it my way, then everything is gonna go wrong, and I don't feel
That's
like
a
you're being
trained
supportive.
behavior. That's a
I
trained
get it,
behavior.
but when do
And
we accept responsibility for our behaviors? What point do you say, okay, I'm being a little bit too much of this, I need to be a different person? When do you acknowledge basically your super flaws and want to change and be better? When does that happen?
I think every individual got to answer that differently. You can't. There's no
Uh,
real set time. I think it's more so of getting to a certain space in life, a certain mental, and can't.
it definitely is.
Everybody's time is different. Um,
I've
and like
only
I
turned
said,
my savage off in the last 2 years. And understand, like, when I'm saying things and I'm putting stuff out there and I'm asking these questions, understand, like, because I really want to gather. I want to gather knowledge. I already know, like, who I am is uniquely me, but I also know that some of the things that I was doing wasn't working for me and it wasn't conducive to who I wanted to be as a person. So again, I only turned my savage off within the last 2 years. It sneak out every once and again. I get caught slipping,
so
but for the most part,
how's life now? So now you just
it's
you are
I'm
living
at
off of
peace.
love right now, point
I'm at
through and through.
peace, yo. I'm at peace.
How
I'm
is
at peace,
life
and I
now compared to life back
I'm
then?
at peace, and I keep a peace. It's balance.
I'm at
Namaste.
peace and I keep a peace. So that's basically
I'm
love and
balanced.
survival.
I'm balanced, D. I'm balanced, D.
Yo, man, I heard you. For me, I'm still like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm still 60-40 with it. Um, I am only because
But you're
of
acknowledging it, and you, again, that's not wrong. Don't think it's wrong. I don't think that I'm saying it's wrong. That's
no,
just
no, no,
it just doesn't work for me. Everybody has to have their balance. Your balance is at 60-40. That's because
no.
it works for you. You also know how to adjust it, though, don't you?
Depends on the situation.
Okay.
At home, yes. Outside,
Okay.
I think it's gonna be like this for life for me because
I don't think so. I don't think so. That's always our eternal debate too. I don't think
I
so.
I maybe I'm exaggerating, but right now that's where it's gonna be at because of the way I'm living my life. And not saying that I'm
Mhm.
living my life rough, but I'm
Right.
still outside with I'm running a different company. I'm still moving a certain type of way,
Mhm.
so I tried my best to keep it even. But
Yeah.
for me, through life experiences, when I see certain things, I know how to adjust that, trying to be even to 60-40 real quick.
All right.
Respectfully.
Respectfully.
You know
I
what I'm
think
saying?
it's not even a point of we learning to. I think we learn to adapt and adjust, because again, not every situation in our life is going to call for survival.
Right.
Especially if you meet someone who gives you peace, and who makes you take that vest off, because ain't nobody blaming at you in the streets, and it's a safe space for
It
you.
take a special type of woman and it take a special type of man depending on who's on the other side. It's that simple.
Absolutely.
It's that simple.
Absolutely.
If you still outside playing, you're gonna run into what you gonna run into, them bumps in the road, them potholes and things like that. But when you get to the finish line, you gonna know when you're there.
Facts.
All right.
Facts. Yes.
So listen, this was a great episode. This was a great
Yes.
talk. You know what I'm
I,
saying?
I, I enjoyed that. This was more slowed down. This was us being grown ups. We definitely coming back next week because I need some
Yeah.
ratchet. I feel off. I'm gonna
We
be
heard the
ratchet.
comments, y'all. We trying to limit the cursing. We heard y'all loud and clear.
I did good.
You did good,
I'm a
sis, man.
lady.
Until next week, it's Little Diva. You know what I'm saying? Love you, sis.
Love you.
Till next week, man. Shimmy and Bundles, man. We out of here.